Hello, everyone. Neil Wilding here with Stonewood Financial. I want to welcome you to another round of Stonewood Study Group. This is the forum that we have. We get together about once a month and we just kind of talk through trends in the industry. Sometimes we'll dive into software, excuse me, new software that we've pushed out to all of our Stonewood members. And this month's edition is actually a convergence of those two things. As you know, early in the year, we pushed out our Roth Done Right program, which has been just awesome to see so many of you using that software and also providing feedback to us saying, hey, you know, that software, boy, if we could just do one more thing, this would be perfect. And one of those things was the break-even analysis. And so shortly after pushing the software live, where we calculate the total taxes someone would pay if we just continue to keep the IRA, whether that be through the RMD process or through level income, and we're able to compare that to the cost of conversion. So it allows you to make a real simple comparison of the cost of tax deferral, compare that to the cost of conversion. And what we found is so many people said, yeah, okay, the tax and IRMA stuff is great, but boy, I really wish you would do a year-by-year analysis of the total wealth generated to the client. So we could calculate the break even. If my client is going to spend some money up front in the conversion process, boy, I'd like to know when we make that money back and have more wealth where we're able to pass on to our heirs. And so we pushed out that break even analysis. And again, man, it's just awesome to see so many of you using the software, getting the feedback. And where we have this convergence of trends and software updates is this topic today, where so many of you that are using the Roth Done Right analysis to help their clients convert more and more of their tax-deferred IRA dollars and using the destination financial instrument in the Roth process, they're using a bonus annuity. And I kind of understand it. He said, Neil, my client, it feels like, even though that's really more perception than reality, it feels like they're paying all of these taxes up front. The reality is you're going to have to pay the tax regardless, but there's this cost that they feel up front of having to pay those taxes, and it becomes a major barrier to actually getting the client to do the right thing. They said, well, we got these annuities out there, and some of them pay a bonus, an upfront premium bonus. Why don't we use those? And then we can use that bonus to help offset some of the cost of a Roth conversion. And enough of you are using the Roth Done Right software and using bonus annuities where they said, you know, it really would be nice in that software if you can just give credit to that bonus. So here today, I'm excited to announce that actually as of a couple weeks ago, you can do this in the Roth Done Right software. There's a new question in the wizard that says, are you using a bonus annuity? We're not going to assume that you are, but if you'd like to add in a bonus, then you just say yes, and then a box pops up and it allows you to input the percentage bonus. And then it also provides you an opportunity, if you feel like the annuity might be making less, or who knows, more than say what they would earn in the IRA. That's all going to vary based on, you know, what kind of client you have, right? But if that's the case, you can put an alternate growth rate for that annuity now in the software. So we can be more accurate to projecting these things, you know, closer to real life. So we took, I know these bonuses, the bonus annuities comes in all ways, you know, all shapes and forms. And so we just took a very simple approach, and it basically says if you are using a bonus annuity, we are going to give credit to that bonus on the Roth side of the equation. So if you have $100,000 and a 25% bonus, you got 125 working for you in the Roth side. I know, you know, a good portion of the bonus products work that way. I know not all of them do, but we have to kind of keep this simple. And so this is the way that we found to make it, you know, simple. So now that you have that functionality in Roth Done Right, where you could choose bonus annuity and use the benefit of that upfront bonus to offset some of the taxes. Let's talk through some of the ways I could see and have heard from you as advisors plan on using this functionality in the software. So I see, and I'm going to tackle this really in 3 different sections. The first is just that real simple idea. I already said it here. It's like, okay, if we got this annuity bonus, boy, doesn't that make you feel better about spending some money on taxes if you immediately earn some of that back, or all of it in some cases, to help cover the taxes in the Roth conversion process. Boom. So we'll talk through, and I'm going to show you how we can use the reports to tell that story. The second topic here is going to be this concept of, okay, well, if the bonus helps, should I use it? My colleague Marty Ruby is an actuary, and he has this very, he says this phrase all the time. I don't know if it's famous or infamous, but he says that there's only 100 pennies in a dollar. So as an actuary, when you go to build a product, you have to make choices on how we're going to spend the pennies in that dollar. And so if we're spending the pennies in the bonus annuity on maybe paying an upfront bonus, there'll have to be some sort of offset cost to that in other aspects. And so it becomes this question of, is it worth it for me to use the bonus if I don't have to? Maybe if my client's already bought into the Roth conversion and I'm just trying to decide as a fiduciary what's the right thing for them. Should I use a bonus product? Should I use a regular product? And the answer to that really lies in what your assumptions are. And not only the beliefs of your client, but also their behavior. And so I think in this case, a lot of times the bonus can become the great enabler to getting clients doing the right thing. And so we'll talk through that in an example as well. And then the final piece of this is like a sales idea. And sometimes it's like what's old is new again. And it's like I'm taking this old sales idea that's been around for years and everybody's probably doing it, but let's dust it off a little bit and using annuities, and more specifically the bonus annuity, as a fixed income alternative, not only for clients that are just, we need to get a little bit more return, but also use some of that extra return to then offset some of the taxes, because they are also tax conscious. So I'm gonna show you just the case of how, boy, the bonus annuity can really become powerful, and the Roth Done Right software just really illustrates this for you as a fixed income alternative for those super conservative tax conscious clients. So let's start with just the bonus in general. And I'm gonna, when I do these study groups, my instincts are always to go live in the software, but the problem is we kind of stress things where I've got a live feed going here to you all. I sometimes lose some of the speed on running the reports in the system. I guess here in a rainy day in Kentucky, maybe my internet got stressed a little bit. So I decided to throw them, I pre-ran some reports for you, and just say we'll just kind of walk through the output here on some of these cases. So here we are. So we're going to use the bonus to help cover the taxes in the Roth conversion process. And how do we use the Stonewood software to do that? Well, I'm going to first go with just a base case. So before I show the bonus, this is what I just ran a case for a client, because I'm trying to decide, okay, what kind of client where a bonus really makes sense? In this case, I've got a client with $1 million in an IRA. Half of that is on the table for conversion. So we're looking to take that, $500,000. We're going to consider converting that over 5 years. And you can see, remember, in the Roth Done Right software, we have to make a few more assumptions than some of the other reports we've done. Excuse me. We need to paint a picture. What's their income look like now? And then what would their income look like in retirement? Because we want to take an accurate portrayal of whether it makes sense to keep this money or go through conversion. And a lot of that matters on what's our income pattern going to look like. Are we going to be earning about the same amount of money in retirement as we're making while we're working? Will we have a drop off? Will we have more? And so in the inputs, we're allowed to capture that. And so I'm showing this client, between the husband and wife, they've got $200,000 of annual income. They're 60 right now, planning to retire at 70. They want to get that max benefit on Social Security. And so they have pretty healthy, between the two of them, a healthy amount of their income will be coming from Social Security. So 50,000, 30,000, total 80,000. And let's just assume they've got another $20,000 of additional income that's not really IRA dollars. That could be rental property. It could be an annuity, like an unqualified annuity or an IRA annuity that you've sold them, whatever it may be. But this is going to be income that's added into the equation. And so I'm going to assume they're going on Medicare 65 when first eligible. So based on all those inputs, that means the client is just shy of a 20% all-in effective tax rate. That's, in this example, 16 federal, 3.5% state. And I'm going to assume, because what are we trying to do here? We're trying to model against the fact that taxes can change in retirement. So I'm going to model in that tax change of a 30% increase in year 8, which has become the default in software. And then I'm also going to assume earnings going up at a 6% clip. So those are my assumptions. And now let's just look at Roth done right, just with again, with a base case. I'll get to the bonus annuity in a minute. Let's just assume we're not using that bonus annuity yet. And in this case, remember, Roth done right. First thing it's going to do is going to just look at taxes and IRMA, both through an RMD perspective and a level income perspective, depending on what your pattern of distribution is going to be there, and compare that to the Roth IRA and what the cost of conversion would be. So in this case, I think you got a couple of things going on. One, the Roth conversion triggered some IRMA surcharges that wouldn't normally be present. And so that's happening later on in the conversion. And that's, a lot of people might look at that and say, well, wait a minute, like, why wouldn't I just, if I'm going to use this IRA for income, why wouldn't I just kind of stay the course? And so, yeah, the tax bill is double, but I don't pay any IRMA. And this is where we can kind of use, the whole picture is not just in the analysis here on taxes and IRMA, but it's also on this break-even analysis. So here, I'm saying, hey, still an opportunity for over $150,000 in tax savings. But now let's look and see, okay, how does that tax savings translate to the time value of money? And that's what the break-even analysis does. And so in this case, again, every case is different, but I'm just using this as a standard case. In this particular 60-year-old couple, if they went through with this Roth conversion, the break-even analysis is going to show that we're not going to break even until the client's in their 80s. In fact, it's in year 25 is where the Roth value finally exceeds the IRA value. And so in fact, for most people, this is a good deal. Like, go through with that Roth conversion. We're by the time we hit life expectancy, we've broken even on this. But some people might see, man, but I spent all that money on taxes. It triggered some IRMA that I wouldn't normally have had. Maybe I really shouldn't do this. And this is where I talk about that bonus annuity as the great enabler. Because to me, this is a client that should convert a portion of their money. Because, like life expectancy, if we're making it to life expectancy, we're much better off. So they should convert. But they're feeling like, you know what, I don't like that upfront cost. Well, now let's introduce the bonus annuity. And again, in the software, let's just say, let's say those destination assets are going to go into a bonus annuity, and we're able to get a 20% bonus up front, and we're also able to find an annuity that's going to give us a 5% growth rate. So really, what's going on here is we're just infusing an extra 20% into the cash value or the account value of the annuity here. Obviously, the IRAs or the Roth is going to be much better off now because, again, we're just infusing all that money into this equation. And so let's look at what the break-even analysis says. And suddenly, boom, break-even, not only is it further into the future, it's immediate. And that's what's nice about these bonus annuities is, like we talk about break-even analysis and the cost of deferral versus the cost of conversion. And it's like, when am I going to break even? And when does the time value of money come into play? Well, to me, this is kind of the time value of the bonus is immediately felt. So immediately, now the Roth is worth more. Now, I had some assumptions in here that we want to analyze a little bit, but at highest of high levels, here's your reason in the ultimate case to use a bonus annuity in this case, because the values, like we're taking that bonus and it's front loading it, and it's just kind of common sense on money, right? If we can find similar returns and also throw 20% in there to help pay the taxes, obviously that's going to win. But this is where I talk about this as the great enabler, because maybe this client wouldn't have normally done this conversion because that break-even point wasn't happening until year 25. Well, this is where I say the assumptions were a little flawed, because in my original analysis, I assumed that the all of the money was being taxed at the IRA owner's tax rate. And one of the other things that we added to the software is the ability to put in an alternate tax rate for heirs. Now, I ask you this question. If we have IRA money and I'm 61 years old, I have not accessed any of that money yet. So that means in my break-even analysis, I'm assuming that the heirs are paying all the tax here. Well, the heirs could have a very different tax rate. And in fact, in many cases, it's going to be a lot higher. Why? Well, when we account for the widow's penalty, if we account for the 10-year tax trap, it's a fact that inherited IRAs are often taxed at a much higher level once inherited versus if we're just paying them through, to the IRA owner's, original tax rate. So now I'm going to go in and I'm not even going to use that bonus. I'm just going to say, what if I just get more realistic in my assumptions? And I plug in a 25% effective tax rate. Now, remember, this client, if you look on the left there, remember 16% federal tax rate, 3.5% state. And so that's reflecting about a 30% increase in taxes to the heirs rate when going from just under 20 to 25. But you'll see many of the calculations that if we're dealing with the widow's penalty or the 10-year tax trap, that's the right amount of impact to an heir's tax rate. So what I'm saying here is I'm not even talking about bonus here. I'm just saying if I get my assumptions right, suddenly my break even jumps all the way up to year 8. And so if you remember in the original analysis, my break even was year 83, so like the 24th year. So just by getting my assumptions right, I'm going through with this. Now, I'm not saying not to use a bonus, because if we already proved that even under the old assumptions, bonus annuity gets us to break even day 1. Okay. What I'm saying is the bonus is really an enabler to getting the client to doing what we know as fiduciaries they need to be doing in the first place. So I think that's a great role of the bonus here, whether you end up using it or not. And the math will play this out that, man, Roth conversions really make a great deal. And if finding a product that can pay a little bonus up front helps, then let's certainly go forward. But if it's an enabler and I don't really need it, well, then we've got this question, right? To bonus or not to bonus? And let's talk through this a little bit, because as Marty told me, and I quoted him and to you all, it's only 100 pennies in a dollar. And so if I'm going to spend some of those pennies on an upfront bonus, more times than not, where does that come as a cost? It comes on the back end of the growth rate. And in fact, if you're using bonus annuities, and I advocate for them, I think they are a great tool, but we have to understand how they really work. And there are plenty of talking heads out there. Heck, it might even be, he's been known to sneak into a study group or two, but there are talking heads out there that would tell you never use a bonus annuity because the returns on those things aren't as good as a normal annuity or the IRA, and you're going to lose out on the back end of this equation. Well, guess what? The software will do that for us now, and it'll tell us, right? And so all we need to do is you can run a Roth Done Right report with no bonus, and then run it with the bonus. And if you want to adjust the growth rate down a little bit, the math's going to tell us whether it's a good deal or not. And so forget forget having people making broad generalizations that bonus annuities are bad because the growth rate doesn't support it. Well, let's just let the software and the math dictate that for us. Obviously, if we're going to earn a little bit less, well, then we're going to see some different patterns here on our break-even analysis. So that's what I did. So I went back and I'm just going to look at, now I've got a bonus annuity and it's paying a 20% bonus. But now instead of showing a 5% growth rate, which by the way, plenty of annuities out there, you can get a bonus and a more healthy growth rate than even 5. But I'm just trying to talk to my guy here that's out there telling me not to use bonus annuities because the growth rate's low. So I'll just give that to him. And so let's just say the growth rate's only 4% of the bonus annuity we're able to get. And I'm using 5% for the IRA. By the way, that's net of fees, right? And if you think, oh man, IRAs do a lot more than 5, I'd say, hold on a second. If it's retirement assets, we need to use asset allocation. And while you might get 7 or 8% from the market, historically, the S&P since the turn of the century has been 7.7. Well, that's only on half the money because we're using asset allocation here. And the other half of that money is going to trend more towards what 10-year treasuries are paying, which under that same time frame has been more like 3.28. So my blended rate on a portfolio is going to be at about 5.5 minus fees. Now suddenly we're below 4. So I feel like I'm giving extra credit to the annuity or to the IRA here actually by giving it 5 net of fees. And so we got the bonus annuity coming in at 4. All the same assumptions are equal, except I'm back to using the IRA owner's tax rate. Why am I doing that? I think a lot of people just like to look at the cost of the Roth conversion under their own lens, under their own tax rate. So I've started coaching advisors, run 2 versions of this Roth done right. Run it one with just the IRA owner's tax rate for the heirs tax rate, and run a second one where it's a more reasonable number. That way we kind of understand and can paint the picture of break even both through the lens of the IRA owner and then when they understand how it's really going to work. All right, so here we are. How do you think this is going to work? I'm just going to skip right to the break even analysis. If we're paying a 20% bonus up front, but then we're basically losing the growth race by 1% a year, how's that going to look? Well, what happens is it's kind of an odd pattern. All right, you see right up front, the Roth wins. Why does the Roth win? Even though we paid taxes, we had that bonus up front. And this analysis is net of taxes on both lines here, right? So the Roth is winning right away, but because of that bonus, and it's doing great things. And if your client is laser focused on break-even analysis right away, well, then the bonus still plays pretty well here, even if it's at a reduced growth rate. But what's going to happen at some point, the IRA is actually going to catch up. And in this example, it catches up by the 11th year. And it's catching up because it's earning an extra % every year. But then the Roth catches up again later on. Why? Well, because in the Roth, we're immunized from IRMA surcharges. And in the Roth, we're immunized from tax changes. So as taxes start to change, the Roth still becomes a better deal. In this case, though, it's not until age 87 is the break even. I'm not here, right? I'm just here to kind of show how the software can help tell the story. So now you might think, well, maybe I shouldn't be using these bonus annuities, like they're a bad deal. Well, no, because my analysis is flawed. Because I truly believe that when inherited IRAs are taxed, they are taxed at a higher rate. We are doing our clients a disservice by running the break-even analysis this way. Once we plug in the alternate growth rate, so here in this case now, what I'm going to show you, what I'm about to display, is the exact same case where the IRA is owning 5, but the bonus annuities earning 4. We got that 20% bonus on the right side. We got tax changes going on, but the heirs tax rate, which means that the IRA, if it is being taxed like a death, we're going to apply a rate that includes quantifying the widow's penalty and or the 10-year tax trap. And when I do that, suddenly, guess what happens? Boom. I got ahead of myself on my slides. Break even is day 1. And so again, not only is the bonus annuity here becoming the great enabler, it's also, we're using the software to help overcome the objection from the guy saying, oh, don't use bonus annuities because you get a lower growth rate. Well, account for that lower growth rate. And we can still, when we get realistic with our assumptions, we're using that break-even page to show, take into account everything, time value of money of the conversion, cost of conversion, right? All of that. But then applying a more realistic heirs tax rate, suddenly, boy, does this make a lot of sense. So hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, now let's get into this final sales idea. And the question then becomes, well, wait a minute, if I can plug in an alternate growth rate for the bonus annuity, and I'm just going to assume that the IRA is doing a little bit better because it didn't pay a bonus, is there ever a situation where you would get the bonus and earn a higher growth rate? Well, yeah, because it all matters. Like, what about these ultra conservative clients? We all have them, where for their retirement money, they don't want to take any risk. And that's probably why they're talking to you, right? So many of our members, their business is like safe money, and a lot of our marketing is around how to, save in a more safe path than the roller coaster of the market. Well, let's talk about those clients. I mean, if they truly are a fixed income client, or maybe it's just the fixed income part of an allocation, and we're looking to get more out of it. Well, what should be in the assumptions for the fixed income side? Well, like when we look at the market, we always use the S&P 500, and that gives us kind of a gauge. We don't expect to match the S&P 500, but we use it as a gauge. Well, on the fixed income side, we use 10-year treasuries that represent a gauge for what fixed income is can be expected to pay. And so what if for this is for my conservative client, or for the conservative allocation of a traditional client. My benchmark is not what the market would do, it's what the other market would do, right? The bond market. And so 10-year treasuries. But then let's compare that to what we would get from a bonus annuity. Well, so what I do here is I go into my assumptions, and I look this morning, and 10-year treasuries are paying just historically, since turn of the century, it's been 3.28 on average. Today, I could get 4.1. So that's what I use for my analysis. I ran this report this morning. So 4.1. Now on the bonus annuity side, I know in the previous example, I dropped that rate to 4. I've been told there's plenty of bonus annuities where you can feel very confident in a 5% average credited rate, regardless of how we get there. So that's what I'm going to plug in for the annuity. Again, now you're saying, well, that's not fair. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, if I'm a fixed income client and I'm in an IRA without the benefit of indexing or guarantees, I need to use the instruments that I have available, which if I'm trying to compare here, again, that's 10-year treasuries. That's what I could buy. Now on the annuity side, it's a little different, right? It's where can we get a little bit more juice on our safe money because of the power of indexing. And the fact that the worst we can do is 0 allows us to use an index type crediting strategy that helps us get a little bit more, and throwing that bonus right on top of it. So again, these are inputs. So if you're more comfortable running it at 4, 3.5, 3, whatever it may be, do that. But if your idea for this type of client is not only can we benefit and get you more for your money, more after-tax wealth by doing a Roth conversion, but also by finding a more suitable fixed income alternative using the power of indexing with annuities and this bonus. And the way this plays out, so in my example here, I got 20% bonus. And again, this is getting a little bit more juice on the Roth side. Also, we're realistic with tax rate to beneficiaries. Suddenly, when we do that, here we are again. We've got this case where, we're saving $100,000, 6 figures worth of taxes, but we're using that tax savings to just break even. Obviously, break even on this is day 1, but break even is also significant. And you start to look at the values. Pick a year, like roll the dice by age 71. Let's see, I just made up that number, but at age 71, I'm looking at my screen here. The IRA would be worth 546,000 after taxes, and the Roth is 759,000. Massive difference. You want to jump to life expectancy. Let's go by age 85. I mean, we're talking about 900,000 compared to 1.5 million, right? And this is where you talk about adding value as an advisor to our client. Like so many people, when they hear Roth conversion, they think that's a paperwork exchange, right? I just fill out some paperwork and I'm just changing the tax status of my assets. It's like, filling out some paperwork, like a government form. And it's just so much more than that. And when you come in and if people think they can do a Roth conversion on their own, there's so many variables in play. Taxes, the fact that taxes can change. Did we even think about IRMA, right? And then all of this, looking at what is a realistic, reasonable tax rate for heirs when they're inheriting the money. These are all variables that are in play. And if we take a client that wouldn't normally convert because they feel like on the surface it's not worth it, and we give them a financial instrument that helps overcome that, and also maybe get them a little more juice, oh man, now we're cooking with gas. So hopefully that's a sales idea that you like and can run with. That kind of takes us to the end of our study group here. As I mentioned, the software is live. So if you go into your Roth Done Right software today, that question is waiting for you as part of the wizard. Are you using a bonus annuity or not? So what I urge you to do, talk to your IMO or however you run your annuity illustrations, check out the bonus option and see what a realistic, reasonable growth rate would be for that bonus and start plugging that in and see if maybe some clients that have said no to you on a Roth conversion because they didn't want to pay a tax, maybe we can come in and say, yeah, let's find a way to overcome that tax, and you can use our reports to really, pack that punch. If you need some help walking through this, as always, our team is there. You got Alec. I think that's a scheduling link right to him, and I think the whole team has. You can get access to the whole team from that link as well. So hopefully you enjoy this. I'm really pumped with what we're putting out here at Stonewood. And so much of that is coming from feedback from our best members saying, hey, did you consider this? Did you consider that? And it is turned into what we put out in February with Roth Done Right has just evolved into something that I'm so proud of. And I just love to hear all of our members using it out in the wild, using it to grow their assets under management, grow their annuity business, even doing some life business for our legacy money. So it's been a really exciting couple of months for me as I see everyone really using the software. So as I always do, I wanted to also just take a moment to say thank you so much for not only taking 30 minutes of your day today to kind of watch me talk to my computer screen, but also thank you for being a Stonewood member. It is, the growth of this business that we've had over the last 10 years has been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my career, and it's all because I get to talk to folks like you every day. So thank you so much for being a Stonewood member, and enjoy these sales ideas. Get in, use the software, and just let me know how it's going. Love to get all your feedback. Thank you so much. Take care.